Welcome to the 30-Minute Growth Session, the show where transformation takes center stage. Hosted by me, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator. Each week, we bring you dynamic guests who are all sharing actionable insights to empower your personal and professional journey. Are you ready to grow? Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome to the 30. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing 30-minute growth session. Today, I am joined by a ray of sunshine, a bright light. It's no coincidence that sun is shining all around her. But my guest for today, Tish, we're just gonna say Tish because we don't want y'all to mess up her name. Is happens to be a colleague of mine in the healthcare ecosystem. I'm not going to say health information management exclusively because I consider myself to be just a healthcare professional. So, first, I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for your time today. And before we start to talk about all things growth, tell our listening, viewing audience a little bit about you personally, professionally, so they can get to know you.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Lisa. It's an honor to be able to spend 30 minutes with you. I know we could talk all day, but audience, I am Tisha Selmon. I work in the healthcare ecosystem, primarily revenue cycle. June will be 25 years that I've been in the industry, and I love it. Like, love, love, love it. All things ambulatory, pro fee coding, provider education. I love mentoring students. I love volunteering and serving on boards and doing things like that. Anything healthcare, housing, education, you'll find me advocating for that. Personally, I'm a mom of two adult children that, right, you're navigating how to be mom to adults, right? It's different level of parenting. And just figuring out life post raising kids and having a great time doing that. Strong extrovert Aquarius, I like to tell people. That makes a difference.
Interesting. People think that they see me out in public settings and they're like, oh, she's so extroverted. But honestly, I'm okay being by myself. It's like I pop out when I need to pop out, and then I quickly retreat back into what I like to call my comfort space. It's where no one is judging me. I'm not judging anybody else. And it's honestly the place that I feel at peace. However, when I pop out, I know how to pop out, handle my business, and come back in.
I'm the opposite. I love to be around people, but I also know when to retreat. Right. I am intentional about knowing when I need to shut down and retreat and things like that. But I love a good Saturday brunch with my girlfriends and whatever is the latest event that I can pop into. I absolutely appreciate that, and I know how to be an introvert amongst a group of people too. And so, yeah, I'm a little social butterfly. That's my next career. I'll be a socialite.
Yes. You know what? And I can be the socialite, but I'm also I think very protective of my emotional real estate because one of the things I have found is that everyone is not comfortable in their own skin. And so sometimes they see you, this ray of sunshine, and they feel uncomfortable by your presence. And you like, I'm just being authentically me. Like, what's the problem?
I've experienced that. And I shouldn't say I have. I still do experience that, and it's unfortunate because yeah, I am authentically me. If you knew me, get to know me personally, I am a ray of sunshine. I'm a boom when I come in the room, and I'm like that with my girlfriends and my family, and I'm like that at work too. Like I tell people I am five even, and so I got to be a little bit louder, and I got to wear bright colors because sometimes if you blink, you'll miss me. And so I'm choosing not to retreat, based on other folks' uncomfortability. I'm not
Mm.
exiting spaces that I'm called to be in. I just know how to navigate you differently. Then, you get the hug and a bless you and you move on and you go hang out in a different circle. But I'm not exiting spaces due to other folks' uncomfortability because then I am not being authentic to myself.
Listen, everybody, I need you to hear that with your ears and your heart. And there's a couple of things you said that I think is important. Number one, people make assumptions about you without getting to know you. You walk in the room or you say something to them and they immediately build this impression of who you are, and who you see standing in front of you hasn't always been this person, but they don't know you, so they don't know that. And that's sad.
It's very sad and unfortunate, but yes, that's true. And I think it's unintentional too. I'm in a space of learning to give folks more grace because while I am thinking through, like, you don't know me, and, how dare you, I also don't know what they're grappling with either. So, right, for me to say that to them, I also have to remember to give grace that maybe, they encountered somebody similar to me before, but they had a different experience. Or they were somebody said some things to them that just makes them uncomfortable. They haven't done their healing yet to be able to navigate various people. And so that ain't for me to own now. I'm not taking that
Mm.
on. I'm gonna give you what I got, and you either receive it or you don't. Is the space that I am in these years. Because you're right, you said something really important. Folks don't know what you had to go through to get to where you are right now. I did this laugh and bubble in me ain't always been there. I've had to navigate some things to get to a space that I am this comfortable in my authentic self, that I'm not exiting spaces that make me uncomfortable.
Wow, I'm thinking of this song, You Don't Know My Story. Woo! Okay. So I'm actually just wrapping up reading this book by Mel Robbins called Let Them Theory. And a lot of what you said is really um covered in the concept of let them be them, because you're going to continue to be you. And I'm in my 50s, even though I don't look a day over
You look
35.
fabulous.
But I am really learning how to let people be them. And you're right about not taking offense, giving people grace. And that grace goes both ways. But you can't expect someone else to be a certain way because you don't know them. So I tend to internalize everything like, what could I have done differently in a situation? Because I'm all about helping others grow. And actually, how we got here today is as I look for guests for the 30-minute growth session. And let me just tell you something I felt in my spirit. There's a book that is inside of you. So we are planning to see you on 52 Authors 52 Weeks with your book, because I feel like there's a book inside of you. But it's March 2025. We can talk about that further when I see you in October 2025 in your city.
Yes,
But
I'm ready.
growth is a journey and not a destination. And before we started to record, you were discussing how, as a professional, as a leader in the healthcare ecosystem, you really are about supporting and helping others grow. So tell us a little bit about that, because I saw you post on LinkedIn. I think it's on Tuesdays, right? The coding lady, trademark. I like to say trademark. You know what? I asked somebody recently, they were doing these wonderful workshops, and I'm like, are you protecting your assets? And she's like, what do you mean? And the way she said, what do you mean? I had to take me a step back, because I think she felt insulted by me asking her that question.
Mhm.
But when it comes to your concepts, your trademarks. It's really something you should protect. But let's tell us about Tuesdays with the coding lady and how this motivational side of you really came to be.
Sure. So, um, I write down stuff a lot. I'm a journaler. Everything, every thought that comes to mind, it's on paper, it's on a post-it note around here, or if I'm in the car, grabbing the phone and writing a note. But also, I get lots of questions from folks in my inbox. And I'm like, well, if several people have asked me that same question, I probably should start to share some of that. And so that's where that was born from. But naturally, wanting to help people is, I think it was just something it's in me. I don't have no other place. And then it's in me, whether it's been family, friends, and then in my career, just I wanting to make sure people feel like they have a resource, because there's times I felt like I didn't have the help that I needed, or there was somebody that could have helped me, but they chose not to because they didn't want me to be at the same level as them. And so I am taking this time, and then social media is, depending on what you believe in and follow, it's taking folks a whole different direction nowadays. And so I just want to be able to bring some one positivity to social media platforms. Secondly, I want to not be a gatekeeper. My goal is to die empty, meaning everything that I learn and obtain, that I've shared it in other spaces, that when I go, I didn't keep it to myself. And so that is how I started with Tuesdays with Tisha and the Coding Lady Thursdays. And so Tuesday with Tisha is really about leadership growth, pushing folks. And Thursdays, I really try to focus on the healthcare ecosystem around coding, reimbursement, CDI spaces. And so that's how that came to be.
Well, there's somebody listening to this that's like, I do not know what she's talking about with coding and CDI. And so, for those of you who don't have a clue what you're talking about, we fall under a discipline that's called health information. And we do so much in healthcare. You guys just, you don't have a clue. But you don't have to wonder any further, because April, during our Health Information Professionals Week, I'm going to be doing a very showcase segment titled 50 Years of Health Information Professionals, where I'm going to take you back to professionals that entered in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, so forth and so on. So just hold that thought about, what we do, because what we do cannot be explained in this 30-minute session. We've been doing what we do since the 1920s, which is a long time. But you said something that really made me think. So in April, I'm going to be doing a presentation for the American Academy of Professional Coders at their national conference. And my topic is navigating the crossroads of change. And navigating the crossroads of change, specifically for this conference, in medical coding. And I chose that topic because medical coding, which is something that you and I both love, where we turn the words in the medical records into numbers, it has been evolving for a very long time. And I think a lot of people don't have the emotional, mental, and physical capacity to navigate the changes, because they have become so comfortable, and there hasn't been anyone that's been saying to them, hey, you want to learn how to do this? Hey, this is coming, and I want you to be viable for the future. I want you to have a sustainable future. And so I see that you are doing a lot of pulling others up, maybe sometimes willingly and unwillingly. So tell us about, how you try to help others navigate change.
I'm trying to help by just being honest and transparent, right? Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not hide behind it. because then you can't later say you were blindsided, you didn't know it was happening, nobody ever told you. Like, right, we telling you what's happening, right? I'm reading it every day. I'm in those meetings and spaces where those topics are coming up, and so I'm trying to give you a heads up. And now you either want to be complacent because you're comfortable and you don't think it's going to happen to you, or whatever it is, that you stay there, or you embrace what's coming. And yes, some folks, they don't want to make changes because it is uncomfortable. But then they have to remember, your first job was uncomfortable. The first time you asked for a loan was uncomfortable. Life, you've had several things that have made you uncomfortable. You did them and you navigated. You need to do that same thing with your career. The other piece is folks are aware of what's coming, but they're putting that onus on the places that employ them to be responsible for their growth. You can't leave that to somebody else. I know where I want to go. I have my plan. I got it written out. The places that I work, they either will support me and help me navigate that, or I need to do that for myself. And so that's the other layer of folks' growth. They allow themselves to be boxed in because this is all that they're getting, that they can't see what is coming, or they're unprepared for what's coming. And then that leaves them surprised. And so I'm trying to do my part to remove the uncertainty and the fear, and encouraging people to take their blinders off and see what's coming.
Ooh, I need to bring you along with me to the conference. Because there's so much we can say on that. And I think that what people don't realize, every second of the day, the world is changing. And you have to really look deep within to see if you're changing with it. I remember, so my grandparents were born in the 1920s. My grandfather is 104 right now. If he makes it to December, he'll be 105. Such an
Great.
amazing life. But I think back to when we had the cassette tapes, and then we transitioned from the cassette tapes to the CDs. My grandmother was like adamant, like, growing up Baptist church, after church, you get the video cassette tape or the cassette tape, right? And so when they started saying, well, we don't have cassette tapes anymore, we have CDs, grandma was like, I want my cassette tape. And when my aunts were trying to get her to get a new TV, she was like, what's wrong with this TV?
Yeah.
And as wise, and I realized today how wise my grandmother was, how smart she was, but she literally was stuck in Clayton, North Carolina in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And after living in Chicago for like 60 years, she left the South and moved up north. She really kind of stayed in this safe space. And I think part of it is just the era she was born in, right?
Mhm,
She was
mhm.
the housewife. My grandfather was working. And so she kind of stayed in this little box. But I actually often wonder, and she's been gone almost 10 years, I think now, would she have evolved some as of today, or if she would have stayed the same? And so I'm really happy to hear that you're advocating for, people who follow you, who work with you to grow, because without growth, you die,
Yep.
or you wither away and try to hide. Like, I think a lot of medical coders don't come out and play, and they
Yeah.
hide behind those computers. You can't do that, because the minute you lose your job and you want to try to navigate the next step, if you've been hiding behind the computer, nobody knows you.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate? It's hard enough to navigate, but if you like,
Yeah.
you know, you're on the meeting at work, nobody sees you, right? It's like you're not allowing yourself to be seen. And for me, I wake up every day with this level of peace and joy about who I am, who I serve, and it just fuels me every single day.
Yeah. When you do what you love and enjoy, right? it just comes natural. But I agree with you, folks that um, introverts or folks that work remote and things like that, that they are not in meetings and they're not in spaces to navigate and relationship build. um, they are potentially doing a disservice to themselves when a number of them are saying they don't understand why they didn't get that promotion, or I do all these great things and nobody recognizes it. If you're not putting yourself in spaces to be seen, how do I know? Right. And so, to your point, right, nobody knows who you are. That's not a reason not to get the promotion, but that's another layer to it. There were other things that could have happened, but I'm just using a scenario. If I don't know who you are, I can't recommend you to anybody. So when folks are saying, I'm trying to get in at this place, but nobody's responding. If you networked, if you went to conferences, if you joined some little groups and stuff, you might know somebody in that group that knows somebody in that space that could send a simple text. I don't know if this person qualifies or not, but they told me they applied. Can you look at their application? I don't need no more information about it. I did the connection for you. And so while it's super nice to be remote and all of those things, don't forget to be in spaces. But also you want to be a part of change. Even if you're not trying to get another job or any things that you don't like, you should be advocating for. You should be a part of change. Don't complain and not have a solution. Don't complain and not then go get on the front lines. And so then there's the other piece to it too. It's put yourself in spaces that you want to impact and make a change, whether it's work or personal.
So it's March 2025. It's the first week in March, first Thursday in March. It's Women's History Month. And I do a lot of reading. If I could pan my camera over to my bookshelf, I have about 400 non healthcare books. And I have to say that because for a long time, all I read about was healthcare, medical coding. And as I began to evolve into, this second half of my life, the second act, right, as um, a grandmother. Sounds so weird to say you're a grandmother, but as I evolve into this second act of my life, I realized that I needed to step outside of healthcare to continue my growth and development process so that I could remain sustainable. And I knew that I was on track when previously I would submit all these abstracts to speak on medical coding, right? And I would be doing it. But now when I speak, I hardly ever speak about medical coding unless I am in a one-to-one or small group situation with physicians, nurse practitioners, physician assistants. But other than that, I'm talking about self help. I'm talking about leadership, servant leadership, right? Leaders eat last, right? I'm talking about all the tips and tricks that I know work. Um, but I'm weaving it a little bit into healthcare, but making it personal because I think many of us have allowed ourselves to be defined by the work that we do.
Mhm.
And I don't want to be defined as a medical coder because I'm much more than that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that's why I started to pivot too. And so I enjoy a good book too. I still like paper. I haven't gotten into the audiobooks yet because in the car trying to listen and drive at the same time, that don't work. I need to mark it up and highlight. And so I still love a good paper book. Um, I am in the space of I want to read the things that I want to learn so that I can talk about those things that I'm learning, right? And so I want to continue to grow in my self-help, in my development, in my space of peace and in all of those things. So those are the things that I'm reading. And then that's my hot topic, right? You're right. You can only talk about coding so much. It's a hot topic. People want to learn about it all the time. You invite me to talk about coding, we're going to talk about coding. But if I get the opportunity to pick my topic, usually I'm talking about leader development, and specifically for me, I'm focusing on emerging leaders, the folks that aren't sure that they can lead. They are afraid to become leaders. They are more than qualified and all of those things, but they're running from the title. They don't have to be defined by their title. That's, like I tell people all the time, when you run into me in the grocery store, you're not addressing me by my title, right? You're saying, hey, Tisha. And so think of it that same way. I'm a person, I'm a human being. And so I'm trying to bring the human aspect to leadership and encouraging folks that are well qualified and ready to go ahead and move into those spaces because they're needed, right? We need them in those leadership roles, as a lot of folks are retiring and exiting. And just transparently, the wrong folks that are in leadership roles, we can get them out. We need to move the right folks in.
Woo, when you talked about the wrong folks, I immediately started thinking about a couple of things. So number one, you and I both are on that same trajectory, where we're really focused on leaders, developing leaders, emerging leaders. Um, my target audience is women, even though I do work with some men. But I find that women suffer with imposter syndrome, and I think it's generational to some respects. People, women were, let's just say, back in the day, way back in the day, right, where their spouse spoke for them, and they didn't really have a voice. One of our HI colleagues, Dr. Nisa Jenkins, she wrote a book, Speak Up, I Can't Hear You, the voice of a woman. And I'm reminded on a regular basis that it's Women's History Month. We are so powerful, but we oftentimes um, hide, because we are afraid for people to see us naked, for lack of better terms.
Right.
We hide because we are scared to let people see us. Like, I don't care if people see Lisa, right? Because I'm comfortable in my skin, whether I'm smaller, whether I'm bigger, I'm comfortable in my skin. But helping women realize how powerful we are, um, is really a testament to, the work that you do, the work that I do, the work that has been laid before us. I am hoping, this is my dream, this is Lisa's dream, that before I die, that we have a female president. Um, I'm not necessarily concerned about what party they're with. Um, I want, I know that a female can effectively run this country. Um, but I don't think the world is ready for that. But I'm ready for it. I want to see it. It's not going to be me though.
Yeah. We ready for all things. We want all possibilities. We want to remove the barriers where folks are feeling like they still can't. The question should be, why can't you? Right? And even for myself, when you talked about, right, imposter syndrome and things like that, I think in my younger years I navigated that personally and professionally, right? I was afraid to be too successful around friends and family, right? Because if you made it and they didn't, now you think you better than them, right? So you up against that. And then in the professional space, if you too boastful about your career growth, then it's you're arrogant, or they don't like you, they're not trying, they're prejudging you. And so it's you want to be in the space where everybody was happy but you. And that didn't feel good. That's stressful, that's heavy. Code switch, like that's just a whole nother job. And when I hit 40, I was done. That whole you don't care anymore, like it happened like that. And this is the best space I could ever be in, because now everything I do is attentional around my happiness, around my peace. And that feels way better than trying to appease any and everybody, personally or professionally. Every day, my day is intentional about what makes me happy and brings me joy.
Oh, I love that. Listen, it's something about crossing those milestone ages, because I promise you, leading up to 50, I hit this emotional wall where I literally was crying, I was screaming, and but what I realized I was doing was tearing out parts of my life that no longer served me. And I was like, peace out.
Yeah.
You're not welcome here anymore. And that was so freeing.
Yeah.
And you know, when people say to you, oh, when you get 40, oh, when you get 50, you're going to experience this, it's nothing they can say to make you really understand until it actually happens. And so, together, we're going to be fighting to help women recognize their strength, to help them use their voice. And okay, we're both in healthcare, so I'm going to throw out a word at you, something that really is very powerful for me. You know the word atrophy? Okay. So a lot of us have allowed the world to atrophy our strengths, our skills, our talents, and our abilities. And let me tell you something about atrophy. Atrophy is where A means without, is where you have something and you lose it, and then trying to get it back is harder than using it. And I equate that, and listen, I'm not telling you to tell you something I read. When I fractured my ankle last year and I had to be non-weight bearing for 8 weeks, it took another 8 to 12 weeks for me to regain my strength. Even today, March 2025, I'm still in physical therapy trying to regain my strength. But something that I also realized, there were parts of me that were weak that I didn't even recognize were weak until I atrophied. And so now I have this appreciation for my physical strength because I realize what happens when you don't use your gifts, your talents, your skills, your abilities.
You
So,
waste
huh?
it.
You
You
wait.
waste it.
Yes, yes, yes. And so that's literally my challenge for all people for 2025 and beyond, is to really look at where you've atrophied in life and start to flex those muscles again. Because let me tell you, it's mentally, physically draining to come back from an atrophied state. But if you keep your mind like positive, like I can do this, I can do this, you can pull yourself back. But it definitely not only takes your own willpower, but others that you can lean on, a community that you could lean on.
Yes. Yes. Use it or lose it. It's important to prioritize you. You know, it's even understanding what were your goals. Did you have some goals that you delayed? You know, you got married, you were raising kids, whatever that was, and you put you on the back burner. At what point do you feel like you can now put you in the front? Because like if you don't use it, you lose it. And so again, I am saying I want to die empty. And so I am encouraging women to die empty. Go do those things that you've wanted. You got to try it to even know if it was really the thing you wanted to do. I have started several projects and then I didn't realize like this ain't my thing. It was on the list because it seemed interesting. And then I started and I was like, I'm not a quitter. I'm going to finish this part, but I don't need to do it no more because that's not my calling. That ain't my thing. That ain't for me to do. Um, but it is important to know that I've tried to do a number of things that I set as a goal. Otherwise, I didn't make good use of the time that I was lended here because time
Mm.
ain't our friend. And so I encourage folks to try to die empty.
I love that. Well, listen, that's a great place for us to end today's 30-minute growth session. I am so happy that you stopped by. I know I'm going to be seeing you soon because not even just October. Later this month, I'm going to see you in the DC area, right? As we embark upon Advocacy 2025. But I know that there are some things inside of you that we're going to see. Several thoughts. I can't wait till you get this recording because there are several things that you said that really need to be packaged up so that others can benefit from it. So, I'll tell you what those things are later. I'm gonna let it just marinate for a little while, the conversation. But I want to thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being here today to kick off our March 2025 30-minute growth session.
I am so honored, Dr. Lisa. Thank you so much for the opportunity to just get together and be transparent, right? We have got to put authenticity back into life, in the social media, all of those things. And so I am just grateful for the opportunity to just come chit chat with you and continue to use our voices for good, right? Let's do good. Let's get in good trouble using our voices. So thank you for having me.
Yes, you don't know my story. All right, everybody. Bye bye. Thank you for joining today's episode of the 30-minute growth session. Growth happens when we take action. So take the insights from today's show and turn them into impact. You're just one step away from the next level. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's grow together. See you next week.